Evening, everybody. You'll notice that as a live stream, I don't have an intro and a countdown happening at the moment. A couple of reasons, new one coming, and I'm no longer using the music library that the music of the old one is in, so I can't use it for new videos anymore. Anyway, this evening's is an extremely important, and I'm hoping extremely useful live stream to anyone whose life in any way is being held back, frustrated, or affected by an inability to sell or buy a home, whether you are a seller, an agent, or a buyer. Now, Alex is waiting in the wings to talk to me, but before I bring him in, I just want to start with this. People are jumping to conclusions about my agenda. But my agenda has been for well over 20 years since I just started to get into this particular industry to make moving easier. And it's never deviated from that, because I've always understood that if moving home was easier, more people could move more easily and people could get on with their lives more easily, and social mobility and life progress would all be better. But what happens is that most people, and I really mean this, like almost everybody, when you ask them the cause of a problem, everyone goes, oh, I know what the problem is. It's those people. It's agents, or it's greedy sellers, or it's naive buyers, and think that there's one simple answer to it. But I can tell you that there are few markets more complex and with more moving parts and nuance than this market. And I'll tell you whose side I'm on. I am on the side of moving, which means I want to help, because for a move, you need a buyer and you need a seller. And therefore, I am on both of those people's sides. And in 95% of cases, you also will need an agent. I know some of you will be like, oh, we don't need agents, Charlie. Then why does everyone choose to use them of their own free will? Okay, nobody has to use an agent. Anybody could try and sell a house privately if they wanted to, but nobody does. So sorry, spare me. Yes, if you think you know what you're doing and you want to go through one of those, will list your house for free agents and do it yourself, there have always been about 5% of the market who are private sellers, and that's good. They're good for them. But for 95% of people, you need an agent. So I am on the side of sellers, I am on the side of buyers, and I'm on the side of agents. And everything I say is intended to help people see this from everyone's point of view, because if you can, things will progress faster. Now, I'm going to, in this video, I'm going to bring Alex in a minute, I'm going to explain to you all of the contributing factors that end up with the overpricing of homes that we have now, that is causing the market to stagnate and transaction volumes to fall, transaction times to take longer, and is hitting estate agency businesses, and is hitting related businesses like conveyancers and mortgage brokers. It's hitting all of them. And for all of you guys, all of you, I am here for more transactions to happen. And I wish that all of you get more transactions, more mortgages if they're not oversold, and more houses if they're not overpriced, and more conveyancing and more of everything if in any of those capacities you conduct your business in a way that improves your customers' lives, which some of you do very, very well. Some of you do okay, and some of you don't. Some of you conduct your business at the expense of your customers' lives. And in estate agency in particular, this is a really, really big problem, because, and I'm going to make a generalization, and with all generalizations, there are exceptions. Right now, we are seeing the kind of estate agency companies that can afford to overvalue, and by that I mean list properties that they know they're not going to sell. We're seeing those companies effectively do it so much and so badly that they are right now putting better, smaller agents out of business, because even those smaller agents who are with nothing else left in their options other than to agree to an overvalue to get the person's instruction, small agents cannot afford the costs of listing and selling and trying to sell and marketing homes that they're not going to sell. And yet most sellers, and I really mean most in any way you want to cut it, the majority of sellers who start out going, don't trust estate agents, suddenly change their mind and trust the estate agent with the highest valuation. Now, some people go, oh, it's greed. Well, yes, but greed is a known human condition that we have had since we evolved. Okay, so there's no point to, well, it's greed. Yes, it is greed, but that doesn't solve any problems, just pointing it out. Or blaming one particular group of people, oh, it's their fault. That doesn't solve any problems. And my only interest is to actually try and solve this problem. And a bit like they do in the aviation world, when they go to try to find out the cause of the crash, they don't look for someone to blame, they look for the cause of the crash. And I'm looking for the cause of overvaluing. I'm not looking to blame anybody. In the last couple of weeks, I have really zeroed in my focus and increased my criticism of the practice of overvaluing. And it has really pissed some people off. I have had some of the harshest attacks from agents in the agent community that I've had yet. And yet when I ask them, hang on a second, when you deliberately and knowingly overvalue to get a property, doesn't it make it harder to sell? Doesn't it mean it's going to be sitting on your shelf for months? Doesn't it mean you're going to be working for nothing? Doesn't it mean there's a chance another agent's going to take it and you won't even earn a fee? And they go, well, yeah, I mean, you're right, Charlie, but we've got no choice because, you know, the only thing worse than losing the instruction is not getting it in the first place. Okay, now I hear that. I'm going to come on to that. Now, I'm just going to stop because I can feel myself getting into a bit of a flow and a rant, but I don't want to go there yet. I want to come back, rein it back in, remind everybody that I'm on the side of everybody who helps moving, okay? Buyer, seller, and agent. And actually, one more thing before I bring Alex in is this. There is a very, very important distinction to make about an overpriced property because there are two different scenarios where an overpriced property goes in the market. One of them, which is in my view the unforgivable one, is where the agent says, yes, we can definitely get you that price. Your house is definitely worth that much, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We're definitely going to get the house for you. Just sign on the dotted line here, and we'll tie you into our 6-month sole agency contract. That is one scenario, and that is a scenario that I criticize heavily. It is stupid. It is, and worst of all, it's letting down those particular sellers who are placing their trust in you, and you are abusing their trust. The other example, which is very different, is when an estate agent who is a better agent, has some integrity, says to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, look, I know that those agents have told you your house is worth £1 billion. And I really want to say this because I know I can sell a house. I know they won't sell it for £1 billion. I only think it's going to be worth 20% less than that, okay? £800 million for your house. And even that's a bit of a stretch. And so I want to sell your house for you, but we aren't going to sell it at £1 billion. And Mr. and Mrs. Smith say, well, then we're going to go with the guys so they can get £1 billion because, you know, we might make 200 million quid more. And at that point, a good agent will say, I don't want to lose your business to that agent, and I don't want you to end up locked into a long-term sole agency contract with them where eventually you lower your price to the price that I've told you it's going to get, and then they get your fee and your business. So I will reluctantly list your house, and I will agree to list it at £1 billion for a while if after X period of weeks you agree. And we'll try and get interest, but after X period of weeks, will you agree to lower the price? Because so the point is, the difference is this. Some agents lie and say it's definitely worth that price and list at that price. Other agents say, look, if I have to list it at that price to get your business, I will, but I don't think it's worth that much. It's worth less. But I don't want to lose your business. Now, those two scenarios are completely different. And for as long as I have been selling technology and marketing services to estate agents, which is more than 20 years now, I've come across good agents who just go, oh God, our number one nightmare is those deliberately overvaluing, utter bleep, bleep, bleeps. So nothing you can do about it. They all do it. They're all terrible. They don't care about it. And if you are one of the minority of agents with integrity, it's really, really difficult, because this is one of the reasons why there are so few trustworthy agents, because if you're a trustworthy person, you don't win business to sell. We as sellers don't give it. Anyway, right. Okay, stop. Time out. Now, Alex, are you there?
Hello, Charlie. Yes, I'm here.
Good evening. Thank you, my sounding board and my rudder this evening, because I'm, as you may be beginning to gather,
You're a little het up. Yeah.
Because of the number of people whose lives are being needlessly compromised at best and actually really badly affected at worst. I just want to ask you a question first. Have you ever bought stuff on eBay?
You're talking to the wrong person, and no.
Okay, that's fine, doesn't matter.
But I have plenty of friends who have.
Right. For anyone who's ever bought stuff on eBay, if you're going to look for an item on eBay of which there are more than one to choose from, what you'll often see is you'll see the items that have got no reserve and the items that have a reserve price showing them. And what you almost always see is that the items with no reserve have got loads of bids and are showing fair market value sometime before the auction ends. And the items that are showing a reserve price, 0 bids. In this scenario, so what I'm saying is anyone that's bought and sold on eBay knows this, right? I learned it the hard way. I remember listing stuff going back a long time, putting a what I thought was a really reasonable, in fact, I knew my reserve was below what it was worth, and I still got tumbleweed. Okay. And the next thing that I sold that was similar, in fact, I had to sell a fleet, I had to sell 8 Audi A3s. Okay. The next one I put on, no reserve. Loads of bids, all the people wanted to get a bargain, bidding against each other. And once you've got people there, that creates FOMO, they're bidding against each other, they want to win that auction, and you find the market value for that item because you didn't put on an optimistic asking price. Now, I hope that there are people watching that can confirm this if you're an eBayer, right? What do you do when someone's showing a silly, you go to eBay because you want a bargain, right? You don't go there to buy something expensive, do you? And what do you do when you have a reserve price? You ignore it. Right. Okay, Alex. Now, so I'm going to ask you to, contrary to what I said before we came on air, I'm actually going to ask you to interrupt me if I make a statement you don't think sounds right.
Okay.
Or you think needs explanation or elaboration. Here it is. So the title of this video is What Causes Overpricing? You'll notice I said what and not who. Okay. Because that's how I want everyone to think about this. Let's solve the problem by finding out what the problem is, not who the problem is. Who never solves the problem. The list of factors that are contributing factors, and same with an accident investigation board has all contributing factors to a situation, is in no particular order. The factors are optimism bias, a condition which all humans are subject to until they become aware of it. Would you agree with that statement?
Yep, it's fair.
Right. Financial pressure on a seller. In other words, a sort of slight desperation where we need to get this price, either because you're clearing debts or because you want to move somewhere and you cannot afford where you need to move to unless you get that price. Okay, so
100%.
This is not the same as optimism bias. This is like hope, pure hope. Like the 3 biggest reasons for people houses coming to the market are death, debt, and divorce, right? Death, debt, and divorce. It's the 3 things that happen whatever the market's doing. People keep dying, people keep getting in debt, and people keep getting divorced. And in those scenarios, the sellers need to sell. Okay, it's not a question of let's wait for a good time. They need to sell. If you're divorcing, I mean that's a hideous thing to be going through, and to be stuck in a house that you own together and can't sell it is life-changingly bad. And it can really irreversibly alter the course of your life if you can't get a quick sale. And likewise, if you are if you're in debt and actually it's a forced sale of the house because of debts, you can understand why some sellers will look around for corroboration of what they hope their house is worth. So, any questions on that point? What I call like seller desperation.
No, that's all perfectly real.
Okay. Now, the next point is a bit tricky to understand because as any agent, even a terrible agent, even the worst agents will admit, the higher the price, the harder it is to sell, and the less chance they've got of actually earning any money from it. It's that simple. The higher the price, the harder it is to sell. The longer it's going to take to sell, the more work you have to do before you can sell it. And actually, the higher the chance of you losing that instruction and another agent winning it because the seller's pissed off with you, right? So higher valuations equal lower income for agents and lower success rates for agents. So I could go into some evidence. I've got to back that up. I'm not going to do that right now. So why do agents overvalue if it's going to make it harder? Now, a lot of people know the answer to this, which is that agents have to earn a living, as everybody else does. And you cannot earn a living if you haven't got a house to sell. And you can't get a house to sell if your valuation is 20% lower than all the others. Because even a realistically minded seller is going to go, yeah, but the three other people all said it's worth a lot more than you did. And I know that they might be overvaluing, but I'm going to just be real, put it in the middle. So, and agents all do it. They all do it to each other. And actually, I've got a quote I want to show from an agent on X last night who said, we all do it. It's what's done. I'll come to that in a minute and actually show this because it really highlights something for me. Okay. So we've got optimism bias, we've got seller desperation, we've got agents needing to win business off each other. Okay. That is a reason that everybody knows about. Okay. An agent overvaluing is only done to stop another agent winning that instruction. Okay. Now, next factor, which, and please challenge me on this. I'm going to caveat by saying the next factor in a falling market or in an uncertain market is the way the house price indices are reporting averages and the narrative with, or the commentary, I should say, with their house price indices. I'm going to cite that as a contributing factor to overvaluing.
Without a doubt, it gives sellers who are not tuned in necessarily to what's happening the idea that they should price against what was happening 6 months ago.
Okay. And by the way, guys, at the end of this, I have a solution. It's not a silver bullet, and it's a solution that only has the opportunity to work in this market. Okay, I'll come on to this. So house price indices. Then we've got, of course, the way the media reports the house price indices. And finally, we've got, on all social media, we've got the sentiment, shall we call it, amongst people who derive a living off the transaction-based market that is housing. So estate agents, mortgage brokers, etc. Who, I don't know if you've ever seen it, Alex, but with very, very rare exceptions, it's always brilliant. Oh, yeah. Everything is great. It's always good. Now, I know why they do that as well, right? And this is where the mistake comes in. This is where 16 out of every 20 years prices are going up, and about roughly speaking, 4 years out of every 20 prices are going down. And so most agents working now have never experienced, I mean, there are plenty who have, but most of them have never experienced a down market and simply do not know any other way than to go, everything's fine, house prices are rising, market's really busy, let's go. And when I've talked to agents who put that out, and they know that I know they're bullshitting, and I have a private conversation with them and say, dude, why? Well, because nobody wants to instruct an agent that's not optimistic and positive. All right. Okay, yeah. Sellers don't want to have to instruct agents go, the market's going down. Fair enough, I said, but you know that you're increasing the likelihood of not being able to sell those properties. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, look where we are now. Look where we are on transaction volumes now. Look what would have happened to transaction volumes now if the industry collectively, all the house price indices, the lenders, estate agents, everything else, had actually just been frank, not doomy or gloomy. It's going, yeah, we've seen the best of house prices. They've started to come down slightly now. We're seeing easing house prices. They're probably like to, doesn't matter, can still move. There's still activity. Had there been a realistic narrative, because I think the mistake that they're making is if they don't say prices are going up, buyers won't buy. But that's not why buyers stop buying. Buyers don't stop buying because agents stop saying house prices are going up, as we now have proof, right?
Uh-huh.
Buyers stop buying because they can no longer afford what's for sale.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. If they could afford what's for sale, they'd fucking buy it.
Yep.
And so if you're an agent right now watching this who is struggling, going, I'm having a nightmare, my pipeline's gone to shit. As per Zoopla, 40% of deals fell through last year. That's almost 1 million people who were involved in a deal falling through last year. 1 million parties to transactions.
What a waste of time that is.
And guess what happens? Do you think there's a correlation between how overpriced the deal is and the likelihood of it falling through?
Yeah. Just a touch.
I just need a frying pan to just hit myself with the head with this. Because, okay, so listen, the agents who are most frustrated with me are the ones who go, Charlie, look, we understand this, but we literally have no choice but to go along with the seller's wild expectations. We've got no choice. They won't instruct us otherwise. Okay, my suggestion, and I'm going to be having a private video conference with 100 agents or so this week, hopefully, to discuss this, is that actually in this particular market, there is an opportunity for smaller agents to turn overvaluing against the worst culprits. And the worst culprits are the ones who look the seller in the eye and go, we can definitely get that price for you. And by the way, if you are a seller and that's happened to you, you are not alone. It happens to almost all sellers. You shouldn't feel, you shouldn't feel anything other than cheated, okay? Because you've been cheated. And the agent will have shown you all the figures from Rightmove and all the figures from the house price indices and all of these things to back up their proof. The prices are going up, right? And you will have instructed them because that's what you believe is the case, and you're hoping that you can afford to move on. But the agents who are angriest with me are the ones going, Charlie, you've got to stop this, because how do we keep our businesses going if we don't win houses to sell? And I hear them. I hear that point. And the answer is this. In this market, it is possible to actually prove that the worst culprits of overvaluing, so I'm specifically talking about the agents who are in that scenario where they're in your living room with the seller, and they're saying, look, I know those other guys have said that. I want your business. I really do, because you've got a lovely house and I think I can sell it. I don't want them to have it. But if I could show you that they're lying to you, would you reconsider? This is what I'm suggesting is the approach that all smaller agents take. If I can show, because when sellers invite 3 agents, they invite 3 big agents in. None of those 3 big agents are going to hear what I'm saying, right? And it doesn't matter. But if they invite 2 big agents and 1 small agent in, the small agent will have a chance to go, those 2 big agents. There are exceptions. There are some big agents that don't do this. In fact, credit to Hunter's estate agency, which is a very big one. I saw them put out something this week where they actually said in their blurb quite a lot about, it is so important that you do not overvalue. It is so important if you need to sell that you understand the market's changed. So I was really impressed to see that. So I am not saying this is all agents, okay, but it is most of the larger corporates. If the smaller agent can say, look how many properties they've got on their website and how long they've been there and the prices that they're at and that they're not selling, and tell me why you think yours is going to sell when all those ones they've had for months aren't going to sell, right? And they will lock you. Those guys are there because they believe the high price and they've signed the long-term sole agency. Look, on this, you could go look on Rightmove and say, this property was listed 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago. Look at how long the agent who wants to list your property has had properties sitting on their website or on Rightmove, how long for, and say, why haven't you sold those? And if small agents can actually turn around and say to sellers, my goal is to get you sold at the best possible price. And the way to get the best possible night price is not to put it on at an off-puttingly high asking price and sit there with all the others that aren't selling. That's not how we get you the highest price, because what happens is, as on eBay, someone puts an unrealistic reserve, nobody inquires, because nobody wants to go and buy a house from someone with their head in the clouds. Okay, and all I hear from sellers who I talk to is, yeah, well, they talked a good game, we really believe them, and then we put the house, and we've been on there for 4 months, and we've had 3 viewings in 4 months. So if I can get smaller, and also buyers as well, I think that there's an opportunity for buyers who are offering on a property where the asking price is too high should actually say, look, I love your house, and if I could afford what you're asking for it, I would pay for it. But I can't because of the lending that I've got. And if I agreed to your price, the lender's going to downvalue it anyway. And here is some evidence. Look at these other houses sitting there at that price, not selling. I mean, normally I say to buyers, don't get into that kind of debate, but I actually think that maybe there's a chance, there's an opportunity at the moment where that could change, and where buyers, and again, I don't think it's a good idea for buyers to sort of go, oh, it's stupid, you're being greedy, the agent overvalued. Take a different approach. Take a conciliatory approach. I want to buy your house, but I can't overpay. And of course, listen, the sellers who are like, I need this price or I'm not selling. Good. Okay, fine. You're going to be needing it for a long time. But this is the last point, Alex, and then I'm going to sort of open up to you a little bit on this. And the reason I feel so passionate about this is because every single day I can see evidence of people whose lives are being unnecessarily and avoidably worsened. When I see people like things like, oh, just take your house off the market and put it back on the spring. You know, and like I have had one. I've had people call me and talk to me about family members who went on the market last year, chased the market down. They've asked their agent to say, look, just get me an offer, any offer, can you? And the agent hasn't got an offer. And they're actually becoming suicidal because of the financial problems and the reality that's dawned on them. And if you can imagine that 6-month slide into the kind of hell where you end up feeling like that is why this is so important to me. And that is why I will, no matter how fucking angry these agents get shouting at me, I will stand up and say, if you lock someone who needs to sell into a 6-month contract, and I'm also going to talk about how you can just actually get out of those long-term seller-agency contracts in a minute. People will not be able to move if we needed to. People will not be able to sell and pay off debts when they have to. People will end up losing their homes because of overvaluing. And the silly thing is, if overvaluing was a profitable strategy, you could at least understand it from a commercial point of view, but it's not. Overvaluing is putting small agents out of business right now because they're listing stuff that they can't, some of them that they cannot sell.
But that's, I mean, you've done a very good job of explaining some of the causes for that. But the output of that is that everybody is losing, as you've said.
Yes.
The buyers are losing, the sellers are losing, and the agents are losing. That's
and
where
the mortgage brokers are losing. And the conveyancer is losing. Everyone is losing because they all think that you talk the market up. Why? Because that's what they were trained on day one in this industry. I can remember friends of mine who starting an agency in their late teens, early 20s, and coming to the pub and just parroting what they've been taught that day. It's always a good time to buy. It's always a good time to sell. Prices are always going up. It was drilled into them. And I really mean drilled into them.
100%. I mean, but surely one of the things that you haven't discussed, and it's something I don't know whether there's any data on, is anecdotally, I've heard from lots of people, and bear in mind I don't get involved too much in the housing thing, but lots of people saying that their mortgage offers were reduced. Once the banks had actually looked, they said, no, you can't borrow that much. Surely that's an indicator to even bad agents that they're overvaluing properties.
They know they're overvaluing. This is exactly the point. They're not even in denial. Okay, I'm going to bring up on screen here. I'm going to share this because it just beggars belief. I can't even believe he put this on publicly. There we go. If it's the difference between going bust, growing, or not, then any agent will do it. Every agent has. As will a new sofa company, as will a new car sales company, as you are doing right now yourself. Now, the way that he compares the offering of, this is an estate agent saying this.
Yeah.
Okay. He thinks that selling a estate agency is like selling a sofa.
Yes.
And when, sorry, I'm going to use the word stupid here because I don't know of a better word. When you are stupid enough to think that letting down a seller doesn't harm them any more than overcharging them for a sofa, that's when I think that there should be some kind of entry-level exam for estate agents.
That's not really up for debate. There should be an entry-level exam for estate agents.
No, I'm sorry. I know some of the very best agents that I know that went into agency without any qualifications, and they are outstanding agents.
But they would pass that exam if the questions are, is this reasonable? Should you treat houses like sofas? I mean, I'm not suggesting it should be an academic qualification, just a simple basic understanding of realities of life.
So, as with any businesses, and small businesses especially, but actually it's more the big ones here. You get a plumber who will happily rip you off and not care twice about it. I remember going to Quick Fit once, and a guy he literally lied to my face about the condition of my tires, didn't realize that I knew what I was talking about with cars, and I pointed out that he'd lied to me, and he went nuts at me. This is a long time ago. He went absolutely mental, attacking me like I was the see you next Tuesday. You get people who think that if you're making a living, it's justified. Russell Quirk, when I asked him live on that video, I said, Russell, what would you say to all the thousands of people who paid you £800 to sell their house, and you didn't sell it? He said, pays your money, you takes your choice. That was his answer to the people who've taken £800 off, right? Now, so you get those kind of people. And then you get the kind of people who go, no, I'm not the kind of person that likes to live conning people out of their money.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, for the reasons I stated earlier, because of the optimism bias of sellers and the house price indices and the media, sellers can be easily convinced of their high house value. And there are plenty of agents out there who don't care, just don't care that they're going to sign up a seller into a 6-month contract that they're not going to sell their house because that lister gets paid a listing bonus. And it's your own fault if you're stupid enough to believe me. That's their mentality. And those are the guys who give the agency a bad name. Okay. But then you get the guys who actually in that scenario say, I cannot in any good conscience accept your instruction at that price. So best of luck. If it doesn't work out, you know around, give me a call. And a lot of the best agents I know do get business that way. But then, of course, especially in a falling market, 6 months later, guess what? You're not going to get as much for your home. And the home now looks tainted. You should have gone, you've got to get the right agent first time. Even Rightmove says, and this is the thing, this whole test the market bollocks idea. Test the market at that price and then we'll drop it.
Yeah, a stupid idea.
It is such a stupid idea and people I know and love have done this. Okay, we are all, myself included, and you, capable of doing very stupid things. This is one of the stupid things. Right. Anyway, there's, if I'm saying something stupid, there's no judgment. I do plenty of stupid stuff myself, but once I know it's stupid, I tend to stop. Testing the market is like putting an advert saying, I'm an unrealistic seller who's flying a kite to see if I can find some mug who'll buy my house. Yep. Oh, it didn't work. I'll drop the price a bit. Now, do you think that increases the interest in your home? Or decreases it? Well, I can tell you, even Rightmove said in one of their recent monthly press releases that you have a 60% lower chance of selling your home at all if you have to lower the asking price first.
Yep.
Rightmove's words, not mine. 60% lower chance of selling your house at all if you have to lower your asking price. So therefore, if you're someone who's going to test the market, and then lower your asking price, you're instantly giving yourself a 60% lower chance of selling at all. And no one wants to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So, if you are a seller watching this who needs to sell for whatever reason, and you've got no offers, you've got no viewings, let alone offers, understand this. In order to find out what offers you can get, you're not committing yourself to anything. You're not committing yourself to accepting any of them. In order to find out and find a decision about whether or not you can move, whether or not you can sell, all you can do is see what offers you will get. And the only way to do that is to find an agent who knows how to price your property at just the right price, so that you will get viewings and you will get offers. Mm-hmm. And then you can make a decision. No, I don't want to take those offers, or if that's the best there is, that's the best there is. We can move on with our life. And if you are trying to buy something else, you're not in a position to offer unless you've had an offer accepted on your house. So sitting, waiting and hoping, which I know so many sellers do, that someone's going to come along and buy their home. Yes, there are wildly rare anecdotes of unusual homes where that happens occasionally. But if you have a mainstream home, a conventional, normal home where there are lots the same, it doesn't happen like that. It just doesn't happen like that. So overvaluing is like a cancer that's killing transactions and the moving industry, and it affects everyone: buyers, sellers, agents, conveyancers, the whole lot. And of course the GDP. It affects jobs.
Yep.
Right? People have lost jobs in estate agency because overvaluing was continued. But so okay, where's the point in the cycle at which we try and break this? Because it's just a self-fulfilling cycle, this thing. So you can't pin the blame anywhere. First-time sellers will come to the market with optimism bias because they won't have done their research. And when they do a little bit of research, guess what they're going to see? Everything's fine.
The media tells them it's great.
And anyone talking like I am is an idiot. I'm a doom monger. I'm a noisy outlying doom monger who doesn't know what I'm talking about, and I'm just doing it for clicks and likes. Yeah. So, and of course, the point is that when you are a first-time seller and you innocently pick 3 agents, you don't know, because of the way they do their marketing, that the 3 agents you're going to pick are most likely to be the overvaluers because of their business model, how it works. You will think you're picking at random, but you're not. You're going to be picking these 3, and they'll come around and they'll be really nice because that's why they've got that job, because they're really nice. They come across really well and they come across really trustworthy, and they will be professional, trained salespeople who know how to close you. And before you know what's happened, the guys will be out the door with a signed contract and you won't know what's just happened. Never sign in the first meeting. Never sign a long-term contract at all. There are some agents that won't make you sign, but for those guys, which is most of them, I just, the number of people having their life, and the worst thing is, Alex, that these agents aren't even making anything from it.
No, I mean that's the madness. They're blocking you.
Point?
Yeah, they're blocking you from selling your property or for somebody else moving into a new home, and yet it's benefiting them not at all.
So and one of the things I want you to do, if you're watching this and you know a seller in this situation, please forward them this video. Okay? The market will do what the market will do, regardless of what I or anyone else says, based on affordability, which is based on jobs and based on wage growth and everything else. Okay? The market will do what the market will do. And I'm advocating, if you need to move, that you move at fair market price for the time. How do you find out what fair market price is if you're a seller? Get 2 or more buyers. How do you get the best price if you're a buyer? Find a property that's got no other buyers and be the only buyer. Then you're going to get it at an undervalue. But if you're a seller, you don't want to sell at an undervalue, which is why, like, you go on with one of these overvaluing agents, you are likely to sell at an undervalue because these agents are so shit, they will not work hard to actually drum up competing interest in your house. They'll just wait for an inquiry. Have you ever heard an agent say to you, oh, look, just keep watching Rightmove, and if you see anything, give us a ring? Those are the agents that if you are a seller, run a mile.
They are doing no work on your behalf at all.
They are literally the kind of idiots that got into estate agents thinking, well, selling houses is easy. You just bung on Rightmove and wait. And actually, within the estate agency community, there are endless trainers and commentators saying, no, that is not the case. You will get a better fee and a better price for your client if you know how to. But there are just too many guys like this guy who I just showed you that quote from. Selling houses like selling sofas. Right. So let me wrap this up, and I will take some questions and comments. Right. If you are an agent watching this, a smaller agent, I urge you to consider on your next valuation actually proving that the other agents are overvaluing. And on the back of that, say they are being knowingly dishonest. Do you want a knowingly dishonest agent to sell your house, where it will sit there like all these other ones? Look, all sitting there unsold. You want to go with those guys? Really? They are lying to you. And here's evidence of people. Use this video. Find that. I've linked to it below. There's a link to that tweet and that thread below. You can find an agent saying all agents overvalue. Almost all do. Some do it reluctantly. Not all do. I can assure you. I know them. But use overvaluing if you're a good agent and you know how to sell a house properly, use overvaluing against the people who are doing it. Call them out. You will be being honest. You will be displaying integrity. You will not win them all, but the ones you do win will be grateful that you saved them from this, and they will pay you your fee, and you will actually be able to sell the house and earn a fee and move on, and they'll be able to move on. And in doing so, because at the moment, the big guys, they're just, they can afford to list properties they can't sell, small agents can't. Right. Alex, any thoughts hang on a second, didn't you once have a graph or some data about how much it hits estate agents' incomes when transaction volumes fall?
Yeah. It's about a year old. Oh, hang on. Frantic typing in the background. Just give me 2 seconds.
I'm just having a look to see if there's any.
Can I share?
Yeah, share your screen. I'll pop it up if you've got it.
Hang on. Does that share?
Yeah, it does. Hold on a second.
There we go. Okay, so this is something I did, 9.5 months ago now, which is why it only goes to the end of 2022. The blue line is the commission earned by estate agents based on sales registered in the land registry. It is inflation adjusted. So if you look at that blue line, you can see in 1997, when the banking regulations changed and the role of the Bank of England changed, borrowing suddenly took off. And from 97 all the way through until 2007, 2008, the revenue, and I calculated that as an average because I had no other way of doing it. So just 1.5% commission per transaction based on the inflation adjusted prices in the land registry for sold prices. So you can see that agents really had a big boom. They were making at this point about $1 billion a year in commission and this is inflation adjusted, remember, it peaked in 2007 at 6.5 billion. So their growth had been 6.5 times in the space of 10 years. Now that's pretty impressive. Then we had the crash and transaction volumes fell off a cliff and also prices reduced, and both of those hit the commission. And then even with the 0.5% roughly interest rates, nothing happened. I mean, those interest rates hit rock bottom in 2009, but for 4 years, they stayed exactly the same level of transactions.
Right. Can I just, I really want to emphasize this point. Interest rates hit rock bottom and it didn't do anything to the market for years. Could you, all of you who are out there thinking when interest rates drop, the market's going to shoot back up in transactions and price? What makes you say that when the last time we had this scenario, they didn't do that? Please think that through, because it is the most commonly spread fallacy out there at the moment, isn't it?
Well, some of the people who've commented on the stream this evening were saying, it's all right, interest rates are going down this year, all be good. So you can see it wasn't until Help to Buy came in 2013 that suddenly there was a pickup in transaction volumes. And then, of course, we also had, that was exacerbated with an increase in prices. But if you look back from 97 to 2007, you know, that's a really good progression from bottom left to top right.
For people earning money in the moving industry, we're talking about,
correct.
Right?
Yeah. From 2013 through until 2020, it was quite flat. Given that there are now many more people in the moving industry, in the estate agency industry, than there were back in 2002, let's say, this amount of commission means that estate agents as businesses actually were not as wealthy as they were back in 2004 to 2007. Then we had there should be a little pointer right here in 2020 with the stamp duty holiday. And look what happened. The stamp duty holiday, suddenly transaction volumes went insane in 2021. And for the first time since 2007, we approached the same level of revenue, if they were still earning 1.5% per transaction, as we had at peak in 2007. And then, bear in mind, this only goes to the end of 2022, that falls off a cliff. Now, if we continued that through 23, I haven't updated it because I'd forgotten about this graph, you'll find that we're actually way down. We're back at the same levels that we had back in 2009 to 2013, or indeed back in 2000. inflation adjusted, so that's real money. So that's the same sort of issue. But unless people in estate agencies have been going bust and sacking people quietly, which they may well have been,
Yeah.
there are a lot more people in the industry trying to live off a much smaller amount of money. So the only way I can see that going is for there to be an increase in unemployment, which is why overvaluing so that you have lower transaction volumes and you're not actually selling properties is madness. If people don't buy when they can't afford it, the only way they can afford it, if their wages aren't going up and if mortgage rates are where they are today, is if the price comes down.
Yep. Yeah. We've got one really great comment here, actually. Thanks for that, Alex. That's really, really
Right.
cool. And the comment is, hang on a second. Chat. Urban Achiever says, "Hi guys, how accurate do you think the Zoopla instant valuation is?" So on that website. Well, no, I just want to give a serious answer to that, because there are a lot of people who wonder that question. And what I need to answer is that actually this was one of the things that I missed out of the list of contributing factors to overpricing. So the only reason these instant valuation tools exist, you will find that they don't give you the value until you've put your details in and tick the box saying, yes, you can contact me. They are a data trap. They are a personal information trap. That is all they are. They're designed to get you to inquire with an agent through whichever website, whether it's Zoopla's or an agent's own website or some other website, because then they justify their price to the agents. Oh, we're giving you leads, we're giving you leads. They are designed to generate seller leads. They are almost always ridiculously, first of all, wide in their range and over the top in their valuation. And if you understand how they're calculated, and again, we had Richard Donnell on this channel talking about it, it's an algorithm. They don't know what aspect your home's got, and when it was last painted, and that you done the kitchen up, and that it backs onto a. Sorry, lots of funny ideas going through my head then. None of which I thought I could say. It's an algorithm, and it's one algorithm for the whole country. So it's not surprising. People think, oh, it's online, it's an instant valuation to my house. The website knows how much my house is worth. No, it doesn't. It is an almost random set of figures. Almost, and they always put a really precise figure on as well. £423,727. That's what we think your house is worth. I mean, it's such transparent bullshit. It is data capture, data trap. That's all it is. Wherever you see those instant valuation tools, they should be ignored and avoided. And if you use them, you're just moths to a flame. You're just moths to a flame. But of course, they are. I mean, so many agents have this problem. Agents hate when they go around to see someone's house and they give them a valuation. They said, well, Zoopla said it's worth more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, a random algorithm for the entire country tricked you into using it and made you think that, but it's not that case.
AW07 has said it best when he says, it's absolute balls.
Yeah. Yeah, he's actually said, he's gone on to say, Zoopla is a major factor to overpricing. Well, and I'm not going to single Zoopla out. They are all as bad as each other. Zoopla, Rightmove, OTM, all of them. One property I know has been for sale for over a year. It's gone up in value. It's absolute balls. Yes, quite right. Yeah. AJ says quite rightly, I said this to everyone, if the service is free, you are the revenue. You're generating revenue. They sell your data. Yeah, quite right. Quite
100%.
right. Okay, so Chelsea Clements as a buyer asking a really, really good question. How do we go into a viewing knowing we're going to offer more than 50k under? By the way, on what asking price is that, Chelsea? Because without knowing whether it's 100 grand or £1 million house, 50 grand is a very big difference. But give me a rough idea of what you're talking about. But how do we go into a viewing knowing we're going to offer more, or a lot under? How do we tell the agent it's way overpriced, but nicely? Well, first of all, you don't need to tell the agent in advance. When they say how much have you got? So, well, I'll wait to see the property first. How much are you going to offer? Let's see the property first. Don't discuss the price until you've seen the property. And if they ask you about the price, say, how can we possibly answer that without seeing it? Okay. Don't let agents talk you out of a valuation because they think you're going to want to. And some will. That some agents will say no to a property that actually you could buy and the seller might sell to you. But some agents get that judgment call very badly wrong. So just you don't need to do that. Just can we view the property, please? Here's our situation.
10%, Charlie.
Okay, cool. So go and view it, and then after, you don't have to worry about what they think it's worth or what the seller thinks it's worth. It doesn't matter whether they're going to be obsessed or not. It's of no consequence. All that matters is what you are willing to afford and pay for that property. This is the only consideration here. Now, what you mean is but nicely in a way that makes them more likely to accept it. Well, the only way a seller is more likely to accept your offer below is if you can show them why it's not worth more than you're offering. And I remember when I renegotiated a purchase on behalf of a friend of mine who's buying a flat through Foxtons in London back in 2008, when again, the official figures hadn't shown the prices were falling, but I knew they were. And this is Moz's girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, okay.
And she authorized me to negotiate on her behalf. She accepted the chance that by renegotiating there was a chance of losing the deal. And I said to Foxtons, I'm her friend. She's authorized me. Here's the email to negotiate. And I said, we're going to take, it was 30 grand off a $500,000 asking price. So it was whatever that is, right? 6%. And I heard every bit of manipulation and bullying in the book. I heard it all. No, you can't do this. Oh, that's going to, you're going to lose the property. All of this stuff, all of this scaremongering. And my answer to them all the time was the same. It was this. And Chelsea, this is what you should be saying. If you're right that it's worth more, then someone else will offer more.
Yep. This is all I have to offer.
So it's like, if you're right and someone else is going to offer more, then you're right. If you're wrong, then I'm the only offer. And they accepted it. But, they did their job. They did their job, which is fighting the corner for the seller. And my God, I mean, if I didn't have a really thick skin and know about Foxtons and agents,
you'd have been looking down the back of the sofa to see if you could find some more cash.
Yeah,
And
I mean, honestly, even I remember thinking to myself, this is seriously impressive. There are very, very few people who could resist this absolute barrage.
Charlie, it's the same mentality. You talked about eBay right at the beginning. All of those friends of mine who do use eBay, when I speak to them, they go, I won yesterday. I won this thing. It's like, did you though? How much did you pay for it? Did you actually win, or did you just get caught up in the moment and find some extra cash to pay for something that you actually didn't need to pay that much for?
Yeah. Lee Pops has replied to Chelsea saying, on a 500 to 550k house, 475 sounds like a reasonable offer. You can't possibly make a statement like that without seeing the house and knowing whether the asking price is reasonable. I mean, that's just such a silly generalization to make because, sorry, no offense, Lee Pops, but you don't know if it's a reasonable offer. Because what if someone else is offering 490? Is this still a reason? No, suddenly this becomes an irrelevant offer. What if actually it's only worth 400? 475 will be overpaying. You do not know what a home's worth until you spent time in it, probably viewed it twice, looked around, seen the area. It's not that straightforward. These are not commodities.
But Charlie, that's the one thing you haven't covered in this conversation. You have done in hundreds of others, is that you are assuming that these buyers have been on multiple viewings and therefore have a really good understanding of how much a property individually might be worth. Because as you just said, maybe it's only worth 400. Maybe it was so massively overvalued.
Yep.
But you wouldn't know that unless you'd seen lots of other properties. So I think you used to say, go view, get out there and see the properties.
100%, that's still the case. Go and view. And if there are no other offers, then you should be slightly worried that you're the only person who wants to buy it.
Yeah. What's wrong with it?
Yeah. Why is no one else offering on this house? And that's why I say, this is where I side with the buyer. If as a seller, you have ignored all the signals and kept it on a really high price, just hoping, you have scared the market away. That's what you do when you overprice a house. You literally, the market goes, oh, there's a new property. Oh, it's overpriced. Literally, that's the market for your house gone. Waiting doesn't solve that problem, except in a different rising market, it might do. Okay, what you need when you first list your house is for the market to go, oh, there's a new house. Oh, that's quite good value, even in this market. Oh, and you need the inquiries, competing bids. That's how you sell your house quickly. So if there's no, and you must ask the agent in writing, do you have other offers on this property currently? Yes or no? I'm not making my offer without an answer in writing to that question. I want to know if I'm the only offer or not. Because if I'm the only offer, I'm very worried about why no one else is buying this house. And if you do have other offers, please tell me how much they are. And an agent that says to you, oh, we can't tell you how much it is, that's not true. There's no law stopping them. They might say, oh, GDPR. GDPR covers personally identifying contact information. It doesn't cover, they can't tell you who has offered, of course. They cannot reveal anything that would reveal the identity of the person offering, but they can. And they do tell you, yeah, we've got an offer of 485, 490, 495.
But Charlie, they're not legally required to tell you.
No, they're not. That's true.
In the same way as GDPR means they can't actually use as an excuse. They're not legally required to tell you, but they're not serving their clients' best interests. If they are deliberately difficult with people who are putting in valid offers.
So, you see, the reason why I think it makes sense for an agent to tell someone what the other bids are is because that actually improves your chances of getting a higher one. You know?
Yeah.
What's the point if you've got 3 offers on a property, 475, 480, and 485, saying, yeah, we can't tell you what they are. So the person puts in, okay, well, I'll put in 460 then. Just waste everyone's time. You need to know what you're competing against. Otherwise, what's the point? So that's why, generally speaking, an agent will tell you the level of offers they've already got because they want you to bid higher. But
Leo Lees, Charlie, is thinking about using a buying agent. You may want to have a chat with her.
Yeah. I mean, if you can afford them, I mean, they are not cheap, but they are worth it, depending on the budget and that kind of stuff, and depending on how much time you've got. And Paula Evans says, out of 31 viewings now on mine, well, that's good because that means that you priced it sensibly, and 2 broken chains, I've only had 3 others who are able to proceed. All other viewers not in a position to offer as they too have to sell. Wow. Okay. That's interesting, Paula. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah. Manj Singh says, I think the market will be manipulated and the vested interests will pump up the market. So this is where I think the vested interests are punching themselves in the face. Right? If you it's one thing to talk to exaggerate about a market that is actually going up. It's inflicting self-harm.
It's akin to the Germans shutting down their nuclear power stations. You are literally punching yourself in the face.
Barry Wall says, is it illegal for the estate agents to lie about the other offers? Yes, it is. But unless you get it in writing, you're able to prove it. And also you can't prove they're lying without, it's very difficult to prove. But yes, it's illegal for any tradesperson to lie to you. Oh, look at this. Chelsea Clements. I stopped letting people who have a house to sell view my house as they're just wasting time. Lower their price and they can view mine. Don't blame you. Don't blame you. Cool. All right. Wow. I hope that was helpful, guys. I really do. There's nobody to blame in particular for overpricing and overvaluing. It is, except for the people who deliberately do it knowingly, knowing the house isn't going to sell at that price and locking people in. Absolutely, that's terrible. Okay. But it is a long cycle of things. You cannot blame sellers who've been looking at the media, looking at the house price indices, looking at everything, saying, hey, house prices aren't falling, they're going up. Hey, house prices are going up. And then believing the agents that tell them that it's worth much more than they thought. You can't blame those guys. I don't think those guys are being greedy when they've tried to be open-minded, done their research, and all their research has said, yeah, actually, house prices haven't fallen, they're going up. And then they wonder why they can't sell. Just whatever you do, I'll finish on this note, do not sign a long-term sole agency contract with anyone. Good agents will never insist on you doing that. They may ask you to do it. You should push back and say, no, if I'm not happy with you after about 6 weeks, I'm off to someone else. I am not going to be stuck with an agent for 3 months or longer who can't sell my house. And actually, this is the really most important thing. If you are a seller watching this who is currently trapped in a long-term sole agency contract and can't get out of it and want to because the agent's just not getting you any viewings, and you're really worried because you can see the market falling away from you, you should write to, so call or email that agent and say, given that you aren't providing any viewings for me and therefore I have no prospect of selling my house with you, would you please release me from this sole agency contract? They will reply and say, sorry, policy, we can't. And then you say, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to another agent anyway. If you don't release me from the contract, I'm going to put on all of my social media, so all of my local friends know that I listed with you because I trusted you. You overvalued my house. I now can't sell it. And even though you're providing me with no viewings, you won't let me out of the door. And most agents, I promise you, will let you go at that point. They will not want that bad press out there. All right, guys. Just please look out for the agents who really, like, you really feel you can trust. And if they aren't asking you to sign a contract, that's a real demonstration of confidence and trustworthiness in my book. Alex, thank you very much. Thanks
Pleasure,
very much for your help and for having someone for me to talk to and rant at. Thank you all for watching, and lots more videos coming soon. Plenty. Talk to you soon. Have a good one. See you on the next one. Have a nice, peaceful Sunday evening. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.